Chief. Good morning, and we welcome you to Temple Har Shalom. I am Rabbi Randy Musnitsky, together with Rabbi Josh Greenbaum, and together with Cantor Marina Shemesh. It is our distinct honor and privilege to be able to say Lehitraot, goodbye to Barbara, in the style and the manner that she herself thoroughly enjoyed. To begin is the sanctuary in which we sit, and then the music that she would tap her feet to, and the smile that she would give when she approved with what was taking place. She had many enjoyments and loves in her life, and one of them was the beach. And so how appropriate to begin with Eli, Eli, a reminder of the beauty of nature. Adonai Natan, v'Adonai Lakach, Yehim Shem Adonai HaMevarach. God gave life to Barbara June Reese Howard. Her life has now come to its natural and finite conclusion. We thank God for the life we were blessed to share for 93 and a half years. Always, when we are remembering one we love, we turn to the voice of our sacred scripture and modern readings. We continue now with those.
Life can't be counted in candles or measured in number of years. It's counted in small joys, good times, and laugh lines, as well as in heartaches and tears. Life can't be counted in candles, but in things done with effort and pride, with dreams followed boldly and hopes kept alive, even in times when we failed but tried. Life can't be counted in candles or measured in number of years that have flown. It's counted in kindness, close friends, and loved ones, and in all the sweet blessings we've known. We continue with the words of Psalm 23, oftentimes associated not just with Jewish funeral rites, but with those of all different faiths and backgrounds, because the words talk about the shepherding through these times and coming out on the other side. Adonai roi lo echsar. Adonai is my shepherd, I shall not want. God makes me lie down in green pastures, leads me beside still waters, and restores my soul. You lead me in right paths for the sake of your name. Even when I walk in the valley of the shadow of death, I shall fear no evil, for you are with me. Your rod and your staff, they comfort me. You have set a table before me in the presence of my enemies. You have anointed my head with oil, my cup overflows. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me in all the days of my life, as I dwell in the house of God forever.
We also learn from our scripture that for everything there is a season and a time for every experience under heaven. We know there is a time to be born and a time to die. And when that time comes, we realize that we may remain silent or we may find the need to speak. And at this moment in our sanctuary, this becomes a time to speak. For as we gather together at Temple Har Shalom, I'm sure that I, together with all of you who are familiar with our congregation, are keenly aware that while Barbara's physical presence is not here, the spiritual presence of Barbara and Mary are very much with us. I can picture them with full clarity in their chosen and preferred seats, which ironically you have left open, both holding court to their legions of followers. Mary's boisterous laughter would fill the chapel, and Barbara's regal beauty, coiffed perfection, and impeccable dress would radiate her pride as a founder of Mountain Jewish Community Center. More than 50 years ago. And I would be remiss if I did not take note that across thousands of miles are another couple who sat at their kitchen table to form this incredible community, Jerry and Marilyn Flansbaum. To our congregation, it was Barbara and Mary who were our royalty. Hand in hand as spouses for 67 years, they loved, they laughed, they traveled, they built, they sustained, they celebrated and embraced the ordinary and the extraordinary in life. Their greatest blessings were their family. Their children, Stephen and Adam, Karen and Joe, Lisa and Raymond, grandchildren, Lauren and Matthew, Andrea and Emmy, Anne, John, Daniel, Alexandra, and Benjamin, and the newest jewels in their crown, great-grandchildren Nico and Alyssa. And yet, as I learned, their home and their hearts knew no bounds, as it always included extended family, those lovingly adopted, neighbors, and friends. So as you can surmise, it is hard to speak of one without the other. For they were united as husband and wife, mom and dad, grandma and grandpa, aunt and uncle, Barbara and Mary, one syllable. But as we joined here just 3 years ago to remember Mary in character and name individually, so today we honor the remarkable legacy of Barbara Howard, a woman very much ahead of her time. I believe it is more than coincidental that we do so on this final 8th day of Hanukkah, our festival of dedication and light, because Barbara embodied the very symbol of the holiday, the menorah, for she brightened our lives in all of her splendor as a shining example of dedication, strength, knowledge, energy, innovation, devotion, and independence. In fact, for all of us who knew her, we realized that she was the one responsible for illuminating the way for Mary, her family, her students, her fellow teachers, her lifelong friends, and her community. Barbara was a woman who coveted the meaning and use of words. And perhaps even she would be surprised how she embodied the translation of her Hebrew name. Called Bela Bat Fega, she was named for one who was nobly bright and beautiful, and was the daughter of a bird who pushed her to succeed, to flourish, and ultimately to fly. And throughout her life, Barbara did indeed soar. She soared with her intellect, her wit, her honesty, her individuality, her candid opinions, her very high standards, and she stopped only to rest outside on her deck or cuddled comfy on her warm leather den couch. While some questioned her desire to live life without Mary, Barbara once again created meaningful days filled with reading and learning and socializing, Rosh Chodesh and yoga, her beauty routine, and even some partying. In these last months, she confronted her challenges as she faced each day with thoughtful, practical acceptance of reality. Her pleasure was derived from the extraordinary presence of her children, Lisa and Steve, who lived with her, her caregivers, and all of you who entered her home with the news of the day, the ice cream flavor of the week, affection, awe, and love. I was humbly honored to know Barbara for nearly 20 years. With her death comes the loss of an extraordinary woman of her generation. I shall miss terribly her broad smile of greeting, her straightforward, blunt advice, for which she had much for me, her engaging wisdom, her inquisitive mind, and her noble example of womanhood. her accolades and vast yet humble accomplishments can best be highlighted by those who shared the goodness of her life most intimately. They can bring Barbara back to life in a way that no one else can, in story, in reflection, in humor, and in heartfelt narrative. Thus, it is my honor to first call upon two of her grandchildren, Ben and Alex, followed by her son, Steve.
So one of the many lessons that our grandmother imparted upon us is that certain events in life occur for certain reasons and at certain times. We know Barbara was our matriarch, a strong Jewish woman who challenged the status quo and identified within her faith primarily in a familial, cultural, and communal sense. After we lit the Hanukkah candles together in our grandparents' bedroom for the fifth night, leading into the sixth morning, that's when she passed. And aligned with the nature of that timing, each night of Hanukkah is paired with a respective meditation. And these meditations generally are analogous to a house, symbolizing the light in which we bring into our own homes. So in line with our grandmother's own flair of Judaism and her efforts in building her home, her family, and community, I would enjoy sharing just some meditations from the Jewish Women's Organization for the fifth and sixth nights. The fifth night is dedicated to defiance. It is embodied through the outer courtyard and the inner will. This is the night of Hannah and her 7 sons, caught in an outer courtyard, called upon to convert, to conform, and refuse to defy their identities, and instead they prefer death. They are a family forced to the edge of existence, given ultimatums they refuse to fulfill. You're an observer in the outer courtyard. What says your inner will? The fifth night is dedicated to standing strong against external forces, refusing to fold to the voices that beckon me away from my core. This is a night dedicated to persistence, a night not afraid to sacrifice. It's a night of knowing one's identity and being grounded in an inner courtyard of calm and courage, regardless of the chaos of the outside world. The sixth night is dedicated to rebirth and embodied through the bedroom. The sixth night leads us to the bedroom, painted with scenes of self and her several stages. The same 4 walls rededicated and redecorated for one lifetime witnesses many lives, many personalities, developed and discarded, many births, and many deaths. Just as the temple in Jerusalem was lost and won and lost again, so too are we forever falling and redefining, losing, and redefining, a new beginning born with every end. So in her bedroom, she recalled the colors of her days, and she was satisfied with the path that she tread, so she could make peace with the person, find yourself rebirth instead. So there's no question that our grandmother's light will eternally lie within all of us. The question we must rather ask ourselves is, will we choose to allow the flame to dwindle and extinguish, lie dormant, or rather know who we intrinsically are and defiantly spark the flame as she did, and once again fill the light within our own walls, our own families, and our own communities? In true Barber fashion, we must ask ourselves, are we people who are performing on the stage, or are we spectators? It's a question all women, all men, all Jews, and all humans have to ask themselves. What do we do in difficult times? Who are we when things don't go our way? Are we people who sit around and pray for a miracle and wait for things to happen, or do we with conviction and faith go out and make miracles happen ourselves? So there's a story about a Jewish man who in his dreams hears God tell him that one day he's going to win the lottery and make it big, and knowing without a doubt he'll wake up, but as the days, months, and years go by, eventually he passes and ultimately asks God in heaven, why in his dreams was he promised such great fortune, yet none of it ever manifested or transpired? And God simply informed the man that he woke up and had never decided to purchase a ticket. So just as God continually promised the Jewish people that there will be numerous as the stars in the sky, so too can be said about Barbara's ripple effect, that she's carried herself in the waves through all of us. Across my life, I've been presented and acquainted with numerous creeds and mottos and mission statements. Yet all of them have always been pre-prescribed to me by other individuals. So during the infantry officer course, I would charge myself with formulating 3 to 5 values that encapsulated who I aspired to be prior to starting Ranger School. And I was writing the words to properly give justice to our grandmother. I realized that the values that took me a couple months to boil down and define not only coincided with, but ultimately originated from Barbara and all the lessons that she taught our family over the years. The first is to care. In order to start anything meaningful in your life, you must genuinely care. If you truly care about a person, a passion, or a profession, it's hard to do wrong by it. Secondly is to be sensible. Without being intentional and deliberate, although necessary, it's also possible to do so without being pragmatic and self-aware of the inherent risks and rewards involved in everything you do. The third is to persevere. When the going gets tough, the tough get going, and you'll be required to make a stand and persist through the hardships and pains that life throws at you. For what is worthwhile, you must always reject rejection and keep moving forward. The fourth is integrity. Although hard to do, it's possible to care, to be sensible, and to persevere, yet also do so without a threat of morality. And integrity serves as the basis of all that we do and all of our relationships. Words have meaning, and actions speak louder than words. The fifth is to be pivotal. No one should sit out to be a spectator. You must actively seek to restore the world, your community, and your family. Initially, I thought that my last value would be indispensable, and when you truly dwell upon it, if one's truly irreplaceable, then what vacuum would be left when they're lost? What success would fail to continue? What legacy would forever be forgotten and cease? And what lessons would go lost? So our charter is to uplift and develop those around us, and we must first solely do that only after we're able to first look at ourselves, look down at our feet, draw a circle around it, and affect the change within the realm that we can control. These values have stood as my touch points, my guideposts, a magnetic needle on a compass, some guiding stars, and the flickering light emanating from a candle in the dark. Just as our grandmother would personalize everything from handwritten letters to poems to acronyms describing everybody's names through their traits, so too must we personalize the values that she instilled and inspired within us. Just as the Shamash candle takes its flame to light the other subsequent candles, Barbara lit a flame in everybody that she came into contact with. So we must carry forward the sparks that she lit within you, and if your flame extinguishes, remember the man without a lottery ticket. Life requires action, so find a light source, strike your match, and rekindle your flame, bringing her light into your worlds.
Hello, I'm Alexandra, and I'm fortunate enough to be one of Barbara's 8 grandchildren, another one of them. Thank you for all the people joining us here in person and virtually. Please step over. Thanks. Thank you to her friends for being so wonderful, especially the last few years and months. We know how much you loved her and she loved you, and we are so grateful as the family that you're here and continue to be there for us. I'm sure you know how wonderful and special a woman our grandmother was, so much that Grandma was not special enough. We called her, my brother and I, Grand B for Grand Barbara, and grand she was. She was a light of her own. With Hanukkah, it's fitting that we celebrate life and light, and that we get to continue to celebrate her today and from here on out. So much of who I am is from my Granby. Too many to share, but I will tell you that this family has very strong genes. Warren and the home she and my grandfather built was consistently a safe space for my brother and I. So many warm memories. We're devastated but beyond grateful. There's a comfort to know that she is at peace, and how elated she must be to be reunited with our grandfather, resting together after a truly wonderful and full life. There's no way that he wouldn't be waiting for her with arms wide open to reunite with his bride, and usher her to whatever comes next. In fact, we know he was there because we got so many signs that he was. I've had almost 30 years with my Granby, and I will miss the snarky one-liners and the treasure hunts, often for her missing glasses, open cabinets that many of us still do, the extra bowl of black olives just for me from the crudité platters, hours looking through photo albums, her pink lipstick and her sparkly nail polish, playing Scrabble for hours, hockey games that must be had, a pretzel with lots of mustard, and she was there often just for said pretzel. I will miss the phone calls and the letters and so much more. I might even miss the Fox News playing on constantly in the background. But I know that I will carry all of that with me and that it will come in waves. We are fortunate that we had one more holiday season with her here in Jersey at home. A large extended Thanksgiving, which was one of her favorite holidays, and a little bit quieter Hanukkah. And I've been trying to soak in over the last few weeks just everything one last time. And I will keep it short, but I wanted to share a few of many life lessons she shared with me that came top of mind over these weeks. One, the importance of a handwritten thank you note or letter, one physically sent in the mail, preferably on beautiful stationery. A bit of a lost art, she would say, but that's what makes it more special, especially today. Two, to travel often and travel far, collect art and friends, and take many pictures and put them in dozens of photo albums that will be cherished for years to come. Three, to read and keep reading. Take it all in, all subjects, and it is okay if you don't like the book. And if you need to Google a synopsis in time for book club, it still counts. Which leads me to 4, be informed, have an opinion, and make it known. This one is very widespread in our family. You'll often hear us say that we are a lot of Chiefs, no Indians. We get a lot of that from her. 5, continue the traditions. Make the Jell-O mold. Set out the tablecloth. Tell the stories. Share the recipes. And keep celebrating. 6, family. They are important to maintain, even if they are hard. They each have their own strengths and how they contribute. We may have different approaches, but the goal is often the same. So make the phone calls and answer the call. And maybe you need to send it to voicemail first, that's okay. But call back and keep calling. Even better if you share a weekend or take the cruise. 7, be strong. She raised a generation who then raised a generation of very strong people, very accomplished people, and she was very proud to share that. We are strong-willed. We are strong-hearted. We are similar despite many differences. But she, like Grandpa, would always say, be strong. And we would respond, I am strong. So 8, not lastly, but the last I'll share today, and maybe the most poignant, is the ability to keep evolving. She would say the secret is younger friends, but I think it's that she always put forth such a conscious effort. So we'll put forth a conscious effort. We will keep telling the stories. We will make the recipes. We will soak in all the sunshine and more, just like she would want us to. So thank you for being here to celebrate the life of our Granby and such a wonderful woman. We love her, we miss her, but we will do all that and more. Thank you.
This is my emotional support system. I have a eulogy, but I'm starting with an apology. Those of us who have studied music or have ever listened are familiar with crescendo, the gradual increase in volume and rising intensity. And as with all things expressed by King Solomon, there's a time for the opposite experience, the decrescendo, when that intensity decreases. As Rabbi Musnitzky has or will explain, that's not true for the Jewish soul. Yes, our bodies age and ache, but the souls of the righteous, and Barbara Howard's soul is among them, are with death freed from the constraints of an earthly body. The soul and the body return to their respective sources, God and the earth. So the soul's experience is actually a constant crescendo, an ever-increasing aliyah, an ascent. And when we pray and connect with those souls, they have even more influence on high and with us on earth. Each member of my family has for the past months experienced emotional and interpersonal crescendos. And with the death of our mother, there is a raw, open rip and tearing in each of us. Our feelings and our emotions, and regretfully my words and my actions have hurt those that I truly do love and with whom I wish to maintain healthy, positive relationships. So before this holy assembly and before the Torah scrolls in the ark, before God and before my mother's body, I apologize. I apologize for the sins that I committed to my cherished sister Lisa and her family. And I pray that my words and deeds will not have lasting hurts. Now the eulogy. We gather to honor the remarkable 93 and a half year life of an incredibly influential woman. She was known by several names, given and earned. She is Bela Basvega, Barbara June Reese, Bobby Reese, Barbara Reese Horowitz, Barbara Reese Howard. She was known as teacher, sometimes as Miss Manners, friend, neighbor, daughter, sister, sister-in-law, aunt, parent, mother, grandmother, and for the past 4+ years, great-grandmother. I'd like to share some reflections of the incredible journey that our mother traveled and just some of the pathways that she pioneered. Isn't it fitting that we're celebrating Hanukkah? A proud Jew, Mom clearly added more light, more positivity, more joy, more grounding, more education, and more guidance to our lives, communities, and world. I don't recall ever seeing her patiently sitting by to see what might happen. She was an involved driver, quite literally a driver, in her Chevy Monza, in a Ford station wagon, the Maverick, and her last car, affectionately known as the Dentley. She ferried us about to appointments in Hebrew school and Sunday school and music lessons and scouting. And I recall in 1969 in my bar mitzvah speech, I referred to her as my chauffeur. Driving wasn't always there and back. There was one time when she left Lisa at the Bantam store at Barty Farms. Lisa can fill you in. And Mom drove in her own unique way for social justice and improvement of community. Mom read voraciously, she researched, she was informed, and she took positions. Judy London, I know you're listening from California. Barbara was a Betty Friedan feminist, my father blames you, and an early member of the National Organization of Women. Before that, Mom was very active with the League of Women Voters. We have photos and anecdotes of an Independence Day parade when she was on a float with dozens and dozens of ducks with a message of "Don't just quack, go vote." Her bedroom displays a treasured photograph of her sitting with Eleanor Roosevelt during a League event. And if I recall correctly, it was through the League that she met many of her Plainfield friends, including Judy. Our mother was a woman of extraordinary strength, determination, and power. She was an advocate for betterment. She chose to inspire, encourage, and enable others. These traits and commitments led to her teaching career. Her life showcased her dedication and passion for education and advancing the development of her students. There are myriad situations that showcased her personal connections with students and their families, imparting lessons far beyond the 3 R's. She empowered her students' families with life skills. When she joined the Head Start program, Mom organized teams so that mothers would partner with one another in walking their students to and from school. She taught them scheduling and encouraged responsibility. She showed her families how they could share coats and clothing as their children grew. She bravely and perhaps naively would walk into Plainfield's urban housing developments to bring a neglected student home or to check in on her students' well-being. And she organized field trips, which included their brothers and sisters, and orchestrated activities to prepare and introduce students and their families to what they'd see. And then she created post-trip learning experiences to impart positive, lasting impacts. Mom embraced integrated whole curriculum learning before it had a name. When Mom decided to certify in special education at Rutgers University's Graduate School of Education, she nurtured our family's appreciation for that incredibly special, and I am being sarcastic, incredibly special 1960s Campbell's soup, cream of mushroom dinner, tuna a la king. All of us and Dad were thrilled to celebrate her graduation. Some of you know she also earned her principal's certificate, but her passion was the classroom. As one of New Jersey's and Warren's first special ed teachers, Mom created her own multisensory tools and learning materials. In her own way, she pioneered what today is known digitally as gamification. She made learning fun and approachable and relatable to her challenged students. She tutored students in our home. Her basement still has boxes of alphabet letters made with colors and textured with sand and blocks and forms. Somehow, and it is still a mystery, she convinced Dad that if her materials were stored in bins on her shelves in the basement, and if he didn't go downstairs to inspect the condition of the basement quite yet, everything would be in keeping with the order and tidiness that he expected. You've heard from others, Mom was an avid reader, especially of biographies. Her inquisitive spirit led her through the pages of countless books. Our family friend Mike Balfour. Hey, Mike. You should have a refluid shleim. Mike is very fond of the story. When Mom was a young girl, she was ensconced in Gone with the Wind, and her swimming teacher needed to repeatedly use the swim club's PA system to call, "Miss Scarlett O'Hara, it's time for your lesson. Scarlett O'Hara, it's time for your swimming lesson." Her love of reading led her to being elected an officer of the New Jersey Reading Teachers Association and one of the beloved patrons of Warren Township and Somerset County Library System. Mom's thirst for reading and learning was infectious, inspiring all who knew her to delve deeper into the world of literature and ideas. She fostered our appreciation and love of musical theater, especially for the classics of Broadway and Stephen Sondheim. In her own way, Mom was an inventor of what could have become known in the world of infomercials as the Popeil reading fisherman. Let me explain. It was a rope. It was a rope that combined child safety and reading time for mothers. At the Watchung Lake Swim Club down the road, now it's not a swim club, I don't think, anymore, but the lake at Watchung Lake, Mom measured out a length of rope, and she tied one end to her beach chair, and she fastened the other end around Lisa. And SWIB Club members were appalled and shocked, and they said so. Mom just smiled, and the next days and weeks saw the reading rope go viral. Mom's adventurous spirit took her and Dad across the globe, enriching their understanding of cultures and broadening their perspectives. They traveled and they cruised for enjoyment. They collected art to remember their experiences, and they even studied together in Israel. They met at Brown University's Hay Library in 1951, and they were inseparable once my father introduced himself with that famously provocative pickup line, "Hello, Bobby Reese." Those are just a few examples of the highlights of Mom's life and loves. She embodied independence and the strength of conviction. She was principled. She was a trailblazer as an Ivy League educated woman and working mother. Her example showed many how to balance careers, build loving homes, and nurture families. She invested in enduring relationships, exemplified by the Smart Chicks, with Tama and Paul Hampton, with her hairdressers, because Mom had a standing Friday afternoon appointment for maintenance. A few of Mom's favorite things included daisies and gardenias, the color purple, Italian tartufo dessert, Jerome Kern's All the Things You Are, sharing her Thanksgiving table, My Fair Lady, hockey at West Point, celebrating family events, and enjoying pistachio gelato and Aperol Spritz from Rome, Italy, across the oceans in New Jersey. And I can't leave out the flourishing of where we are now celebrating her life and legacy, Temple Har Shalom. Karen suggested that I include some of Mom's recent witticisms. Please put in my hearing aids so I can hear your dulcet tones. If you live long enough, you'll see everything. Enough, Stephen. Stop spinning me around on the dance floor. I'm getting dizzy. I had her in a wheelchair on a cruise, and we were on the dance floor. Thank you for the cruise. You almost killed me. And from this past Thanksgiving, sorry I wasn't better entertainment. Her influence continues to resonate in the hearts of those she nurtured and taught, mentored, and loved. Mom's legacy lives on through her 4 children, 8 grandchildren, 2 great-grandchildren. She lives among us through her friendships and whenever we mention her well-respected name. Mom's neshama, her soul, returns to God and is destined for Gan Eden, the Garden of Eden, to be with Dad, her parents, her beloved Aunt Molly, and sister-in-law Marilyn, and extended family. Mom is now on a higher spiritual level where she will continue to take pride and joy in our observances, in our marriages and careers, in our births and families and celebrations. We gratefully remember Barbara Reese Howard, Bela Bas Vega. May our days continue to be filled with laughter, love, and the joy of knowing that we were privileged to be carried and raised, loved, mentored, disciplined, educated, and befriended by you. Mom, may your neshama climb ever higher, united with the source of all blessings. Zikron Livracha, may your memory be for blessing. I love you.
To accompany her soul, as Stephen so beautifully described, we rise now for the El Malei Rachamim. The words that ask, compassionate God, eternal spirit of the universe, Grant perfect rest in your sheltering presence to our beloved Barbara, who has now entered eternity. O God of mercy, let her find refuge in your eternal presence, and let her soul be bound up in the bond of everlasting life. God is her inheritance. May she always rest in peace. And let us say, Amen. You may be seated. I have been asked to announce that interment will take place immediately following our service at the Somerset Memorial Park at 95 Mount Airy Road in Basking Ridge. After a private meal of consolation, the family will be returning to the home of Barbara and Mary Howard, where they will greet people for Shiva from 3 o'clock on for the next 7 days. A Shiva Minyan will be held each afternoon at 5 p.m. And now, as her family and dearest will escort her on her next journey, so will the words of one of her favorite Jewish musical artists, Debbie Friedman, as we pray, Lechi Lach, to a new land that she will show us.